Hello again, and welcome to this week's TCA Crossroads. One of your co-hosts, Kostin Tukulescu, entrepreneur and angel investor. And joining me as always is Mr. David Friedman. David, how are you today?
I never had it so good, recovering from the 4th of July festivities.
Oh yeah? Did you partake in the hot dog eating competition or anything like that?
You know, it's funny because it takes place at Nathan's in Brooklyn. I grew up down the street, and I'm a huge fan of Joey Chestnut. He now won 16 in a row, it seems. Yeah, I'm real happy. I can eat 2 in probably an hour, and he did 72 in 10 minutes.
Yeah. I caught the very end of it. It was literally the countdown to the finish, and he has such a lead. He was like 20 hot dogs beyond anybody else. Is phenomenal to watch.
Did you see the women's one, though? That was tied until the last 2 seconds, and the winner won by 1 hot dog or a half or a wiener, whatever the case is.
Okay, careful to keep it PG
clean
here.
Yeah, it's clean.
But what was the total on the women? So the men's was something like 70, you said, 72?
Yeah, I think it was 72 on the men, and I think it was 37 on the women.
Wow.
And a 4'8" woman came in second. I was rooting for her. I mean, I'm rooting for the underdog.
Yeah, phenomenal. Okay, a lot of fun. So glad to hear you had a great holiday. Today we got a great show about the Orange County and Southern California tech startup ecosystem. We have a couple of great guests. David, who do we have?
Yeah, we have 2 people. We have Shankar Ram, who is also a former member of TCA and now a chairman of the board of trustees of the Indus Entrepreneurs, TiE as we call them, and also Scott Fox, one of our TCA sponsors in Orange County, and he's with the startup ecosystem. Right. I'm looking forward to that because ecosystems are so critical to success of both the entrepreneur and the investor.
Well, without further ado, let's have Shankar and Scott join us on the podcast here. Hello, gentlemen. How are you? Great to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
You know, I haven't seen you guys in about 2 weeks. I mean, I seem to run into you all the time, which I think is the good news. You know.
Yeah. So well, that's your point. That's your point about an ecosystem, right?
With an introduction by you, Shankar, and then Scott. Tell us who you are and what part of the ecosystem you play in.
Okay, good. I'm Shankar Ram. As David said, I'm the chair of TiE Global. TiE is one of the largest nonprofit organizations for entrepreneurs in the world, with 57 chapters spread across 10 countries. Our mission is to foster entrepreneurship. Personally, I'm an entrepreneur. I've started multiple companies, exited all of them, and past 20 years I've been an investor. And I've been a member of TechCos Angels, Guinea Angels, and now TiE SoCal Angels. So I'm an investor at this time, but I think like an entrepreneur when I make investments.
Good. And Scott, who are you?
So I'm a serial internet entrepreneur, and these days I'm mostly an investor, but I spend a lot of time organizing and helping accelerate the ecosystem here in Orange County through the Orange County Startup Council, as well as being a member of TechCos Angels and part of TiE Angels and several other funds and angel groups. And I've written these books, actually. I'm an author too. So I've written several books trying to help entrepreneurs all over the world, really. The middle ones are in English. The others are foreign languages. So these are all over the world trying to help early stage entrepreneurs, especially underrepresented entrepreneurs, find the on-ramps to become insiders like we have become, to get involved in all the opportunities and ways of improving the world that entrepreneurship offers.
So I'm going to have to ask this question. Do you have a discount code for people who want to buy your books? How do you do that?
I wish. Actually, these are real books with the real publisher. So real publishers don't give out discount codes. So we're Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So I'll just give you one next time I see you. How's that?
You should do it free to entrepreneurs.
Well, super. Well, I want to start it off in a real simple way with a very softball question. So I'll throw this one up and you can take a chance, whoever wants to answer first. For 10 points, why is an ecosystem important? Why is it critical for success? Because think about it, you guys are part of the same groups, they're crossovers all the time. But why is it important to the entrepreneur? Why is it important to the investor? We'll see what we can come up with.
Shankar, you want to start or shall I?
Oh, okay. No, see, the ecosystem is basically the entire space, right? For an investor, let me talk about the investor perspective. I want to get exposed to as many companies as possible, as many entrepreneurs as possible, so that I can deal with these people. For an entrepreneur, the ecosystem is so important because the opportunities, they're going to meet the next investor, they're going to meet the next advisor, they're going to meet their next employee or whatever it is. So they're going to meet these people in the ecosystem, which we all create. So the entrepreneurial ecosystem is what makes them tick, because otherwise they're going to be in a very confined space.
And Scott, you want to add to that?
Sure, I agree with that, obviously. And we are all working together all the time, which is great. I think the ecosystem really boils down to relationships. That's what's really important. As an investor, I don't want to invest in people. It's just like sales, right? You buy from people you know, like, and trust. It's the same, I think, for all of us as investors. We want to trust the people, and that takes building a relationship. It's not just about the idea, but it's about the long-term execution. And the ecosystem allows us opportunities, often events or mentoring groups or investment presentations, all these things, happy hours. This is together builds the cohesion of the relationships and the networks that we all need to the rising tide lifts all the boats sort of thing, right? I think the ecosystem is critical to that.
And I have a follow-up on that. Do you feel like we can look at ecosystems like Silicon Valley, LA, New York, Denver, and based on the size of the ecosystem, it's like linearly correlated to the success of the companies?
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that, Costin, but yeah, I think you probably can, because I mean, one of the reasons I started the OC Startup Council was when I moved here about 10 years ago, I had real trouble finding you guys, right? It took me years even to find Tech Coast Angels, which is the largest, one of the most successful angel groups in the world. And yet in the Bay Area, every bar or restaurant or parking valets have business plans, right? It's like screenplays in LA. And so here we it was a little harder to do. And I think, yeah, maybe it does. I mean, the population density certainly helps. We've all spent lots of time in LA as well, right? And it's just easier in LA because there's just a lot more people. If whatever 2% of the population is entrepreneurs, it's just a little number times a big number is a big number, right? So there's a lot more of them. And here we're just kind of spread out. And that's an interesting thought, though, the correlation with the population. Yeah. I think you're right.
I want to add to it. See, you're right on the ecosystem, regional, right? But in TiE, we have taken it and we've formed what is called TiE Global Angels. I've taken it to the next level so that, the ecosystem, so I can interact with other ecosystems. So make it a worldwide or global ecosystem. We have an angel group in India I work with. The TiE Global Angels brings together all these ecosystems together. So I can invest in companies in Silicon Valley, they can invest in Los Angeles, and we can work with a company. Like tomorrow, I'm on a due diligence team at Atlanta. So we work across. So I'm slowly trying to expand the ecosystem so the networking opportunities are much, much bigger for the entrepreneur and the investor.
Go, Shankar.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Can you give me an example? And I think there are several, starting with you, Shankar, how you set up a program, for example, through TiE, and give us an example of how you built this ecosystem, even through your own like global summit or your meetings that we had over at Garden Grove.
Yeah. So as TiE, remember our main mission is to foster entrepreneurship, and we define some pillars, to support that mission, which is basically, the first thing is networking. We talked about education, mentoring, incubation, and investments. These are the pillars, and we have our various programs built around it. Everybody does networking. We all network in TCA or Investor Summit, wherever we go, network. But we also, on education, again, all these is educational, and we already have that. But we form the mentoring and the investment as separate programs so we can expand it globally. So I first formed the TiE Southern California Angel Group. And then each chapter had its own angel investments. I said, hey, why can't we merge all this ecosystem? How do you bring this together? So 3 years ago, I formed what is called TiE Global Angels to bring together all the chapters together, and definitely united by a software platform that makes it easy to deal with companies. So I could be on a team doing due diligence. I could be listening to a pitch in Atlanta. At the same time, I could be doing other things in Los Angeles. So all these happens. And as part of Southern California, we have an investor summit, which happens every year. We're bringing all the players of the ecosystem into play. So basically, we had the investor summit here, and other areas also may have the summit. On top of it, we have a TiE Global Summit that happens once a year, some part of the world. Like this year, it's going to be in Singapore in November. And that's going to bring all our members across the various continents in one place where we can talk about pitching, talk about investment, talk about mentoring. And so we bring the ecosystem together at that point, and then we take away from there and say how we can collaborate and work together.
Yeah, it's pretty
So-
cool.
So various programs. I can talk about it for hours together, but there's so many programs within that.
I have a question though. So I'm kind of hearing two different things. We're using the word ecosystem, and to me, Orange County is an ecosystem. Silicon Valley is an ecosystem. It's a critical mass where you've got the entrepreneurs, the funding, the customers, everything working together, and that to me is my definition of ecosystem.
Yes.
And then I'm hearing syndication, where once an entrepreneur enters your potential Southern California ecosystem, then with TiE, they can get syndicated and raise additional funding. They can get, that deal gets exposed globally. And I think that's very powerful as well.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure, like, as we focus our conversations today, are we talking about syndication? Or are we talking about ecosystem? And I'm being an Orange County local, and I love Orange County, been here ever since I graduated UC Irvine. Let's talk about the Orange County ecosystem and what we might be able to do to help Orange County entrepreneurs grow successful companies.
But I think there are two parts to it, though. I mean, when we look at it, there's the geographic part, which is the Orange County part. The other one that Shankar, and I wanted Scott to weigh in on this, is the issue relating to the relationships of the people within the ecosystem. So when an entrepreneur comes into TiE, they do a pitch. All of a sudden, now it gets broadcast by Scott and the startup council, goes to TCA, because we do have, to your point, Costin, we do have that syndication with TiE, and as part of the ASN. So it's really on two different levels. But you're right. In the Orange County area, I think we're not known as well as Silicon Valley for being a robust ecosystem. But maybe Scott can weigh in on that. And how does he look at it? And where does he fit in? Where does the Startup Council fit in?
Well, they're all good points. Yeah, and I was going to bring up ASN as well, because Tech Coast Angels has that cross ecosystem outreach as well, through TCA and ASN. The Angel Syndication Network is what we're talking about, in case anybody doesn't know what ASN is. But yeah, well, I think the definition of ecosystem has changed a bit, because we all used to be constrained by geography. Even Tech Coast Angels, remember, all our deals like 5 or 6 years ago tended to be Southern California. And then especially because of the pandemic, things accelerated. And Shankar's timing is perfect, right? Because suddenly we're all connected by Zoom, and we can look at stuff. And now our deal flow at TCA and certainly at TiE Global is much more diverse, which is awesome. But anyway, to Costin's point, let's talk about Orange County.
Well, and I just want a devil's advocate. Like, as an entrepreneur, why would I ever need to go to a mixer event? I can just find all the Zoom meetings where angels are, and I can just be on Zoom, right? Let's talk about the value of bringing people together in a room, in a, like what you guys did with a startup. I keep the name escapes me. What did you do 3 weeks ago?
The Game Changer.
Game Changer.
Yeah.
That to me is bringing the ecosystem together. And I think we need more of that in Orange County. And what are some ideas about how we can, ramp up that kind of activity? Since you, Scott, are one of the masterminds of events like that, such as your mastermind event. What can we do to juice up the OC ecosystem so we get out of the Zoom meetings and we go and meet people in person, form real bonds?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I think there's two kinds of interactions that happen, and I think you'll probably all agree with this. I just made it up, but basically there's the presentation type interaction, which can do pretty well on Zoom. But then there's everything else, right? When there isn't so much of an agenda. There's just the hanging out, getting to know each other. How do you have any kids, or what sports do you like? Where'd you go on vacation? That kind of stuff. That is what build the relationships that I was talking about when we began. And I think we need more events. Right? The real world, there's no substitute for having a meal with somebody or getting together. The rapport we even have here, we all know each other personally, right? This would be a little different vibe if we'd only known each other on Zoom. It'd still be good, but this is better because we know each other personally.
Also, I think you and I, Scott, we've physically kicked each other because we took Taekwondo classes together.
That's
So
true.
you can't beat that. That's our
That's-
ecosystem.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, I'm a big fan, as you know, as you mentioned, the masterminds workshops that we run. I would encourage, it's the first thing I say when people, and you guys probably get this question too all the time. I meet entrepreneurs like, how do I raise money? It's like, well, you don't just raise money, you build relationships. And to do that, just start going to events. You need to meet the people. You learn. It's like learning a language. You learn the lingo, you meet the people, how they act, what they wear, what they talk about. You just got to get into the flow, and you can't do that as well on Zoom. I want a counterpoint, though, is that the rest of the world, not everybody lives even in a place as affluent and active as Orange County. We may be feeling, insecure compared to the traffic and deal flow in the Bay Area, but a lot of people live in small towns or in other countries where they don't have any of this, right? And Zoom is a great option in those cases because it's all you got, right? So I'm a fan of all that, but I think it boils down to your point: more interacting, more. That's why we started throwing those startup game changer conferences, which
I want to put some. Yeah.
Now I wanted to add one thing.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I want to put something in perspective. Let's break it down. Yeah. Go ahead, Shankar.
No, I just see. Yes, we're talking about the OC ecosystem. That's good, but the same thing. What I'm looking at is, let's say an entrepreneur, we invest in a company in Orange County. We look at the company, invest it. Now I want to expose that entrepreneur to the global picture or the other chapter so they can get more money. More power to the investors, because let's say if you're investing $1 million and now with the reach of the other ecosystem, able to invest $1.5, $2 million, more power to us. So more power to us because now we have a lead. Like some of the companies we're working together on. So
good point. It goes both ways. Yeah.
Look at that system and saying, how can we benefit? I call it democratizing the process of investment and this exposing the entrepreneurs to every investor in the look of the world, and investor gets opportunity to invest elsewhere too. So for both persons.
Yeah, and it's almost like once you've made that investment, you're in bed with that company. So it's like, okay, how can I ensure our success? And through the syndication that ASN and TiE Global brings, that does increase the chances of success for that entrepreneur.
Yes.
Shankar, though, what's your feeling on these events? I know TiE has thrown together some cool events. Are you guys going to do more frequent? What's the plan?
Yes, definitely. With now Startup Steroid and the Game Changer, these events, actually, we are already planning. I think I'm seeing WhatsApp messages planning for October. We're going to have another event. So every 2-3 months, you're going to have an event from that entity that's a separate, other than TiE. And TiE, we have monthly pitch sessions like TechCo's Angels does. And we are always sharing deals and working together. So we're going to have more physical events. Definitely Zoom is okay with the pitch events, but we do want more in-person events. So every 2-3 months, you're going to see something from us. Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Let me step back a second and try to frame something a little bit differently. When I look at an ecosystem, I'm looking at 3 components, notwithstanding the geography and notwithstanding the participants. There's the upfront, when the entrepreneur wants to be able to pitch to somebody. So you have the pitching and the application into a system. Then all of us in the angel groups, we do our analysis, our screenings, and then we do our due diligence. But the other component of the ecosystem, I think, which is ignored, and I want your take on this, is the path forward. What happens when we have invested? We maybe even work together, Shankar, on a due diligence, and we both invest. Now, the company is successful. How do we help that company go forward? And how does that part of the ecosystem come into play? With the VCs, with the PE people, with others that are involved in the next stage of investment. I want your take on that construct.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what the point is. See, so once we invest, let's say in a company, let's say it's a local company, and you invest or I invest or we do joint due diligence. Right now, there's an example, one company which you just invested, we are also investing now, RealSeq. And I think between us, we're investing close to $1.5 million between you and us and others. So we are supporting the local company now in investing. But then when you have the leverage, when you invest that kind of money, we can get an advisor position or a director or observer position in the company. We can help the company grow to the next level. One is the revenue, right? Whatever we can help with the revenue. The other thing is the next level raise. So by expanding to other ecosystem like connections in Singapore or New York or Silicon Valley, we can bring more VC players into the picture. And naturally, because we want them to succeed, when as an angel investor, when a company goes to A and then goes to Series B, we can sit back and relax. Good, they're taken off, we're okay. Series B, I'm happy. Series A is a little there. And so how do we angels come in and push that? And the various, just our ecosystem, is it strong enough to support that? And that's where we need the outside, the other ecosystems to collaborate. And that is what we are trying to do within TiE, the collaborative workforce. And as angels, the small checks, with this collaboration, the small checks are no longer, we are not talking about 50, 100,000, we're talking about $1 million plus. And that's possible now.
Yeah, so it sounds like
Want to weigh in on that?
Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Sure. Well, I agree. I agree that there's a real need for the follow-on, and both in terms of capital, but also in terms of relationships and recruiting. One of the big problems is when we have a company that does well, they leave. They often follow where the capital came from, of course, and they move up to Menlo Park, right? But they also have trouble staffing, perhaps, right? It's expensive to live here. And I've been involved in initiatives, for example, the Greater Irvine Chamber of Commerce and people like that are trying to work on workforce affordability and housing affordability so that we have the staffing to staff companies as they grow. It would be hard to put together, an Amazon or something, in Orange County, just in terms of population. Again, a density question like you raised earlier, Costin. So yeah, I think, but we, literally the four of us on this call actually are kind of well positioned to help with this outreach and building those relationships with the VCs and making them see. I often joke, and you guys might have heard me say this, but a lot of VCs think that Orange County is just a rest stop on their way from LA down to San Diego, right? And we're more than a rest stop where there's a lot of activity here. And I think we're all mindful of that. I wanted to add, though, something about what David said. I'm definitely interested as an investor in building the people from seed to Series A and B and so forth. But I'm also interested in supporting the companies that come and we turn them away, right? And not the ones that are just not very good or misunderstand how VC financing works. But there are always a few that are like, well, that was close, right? And we also don't have as great a follow-up mechanisms as I would like to help mentor those folks, just a little better, like come back in 6 months and because we're all busy and we're all running essentially volunteer organizations. But if we had if we really had an organization or assets or commitment here and a lot more startup alumni, that's the other big thing we're missing locally is exited alumni. All of those, I think, would start to come together.
Can I add to it? That is exactly where TiE comes in. See, whereas Tech Coast Angels, the angel groups or angel investors, whereas TiE is an organization which has, as I said, the pillars, where mentoring is a very big pillar. Mentoring is not just for companies we investment. Investment is separate from mentoring. So we have competitions for university students, high school students, women. Right. With the competition, we do select a winner for a cash prize. But then right now, the university championship, 27 companies came to the semifinals. All 27 companies are being mentored, even though there's only one winner. So everybody has an opportunity to be mentored. We have a mentoring school, mentoring programs they can participate. And a company that won the women's competition, I spoke to the CEO. I said, you won the competition. We are not investing in your company, unfortunately, but since you won, you're always part of our family. We want an advisor, you want mentorship, we are there for you. Whether you succeed or not, that's our job. So we are a nonprofit and we look at it slightly beyond investment, right? It's mentoring and helping them grow, fostering entrepreneurship. Not necessarily everybody is going to be a successful turnaround. It could be a family-style business. That's okay. They're entrepreneurs too. Lifestyle business, right? They are also entrepreneurs. As investors, we might not invest because we want a return. But still, we would mentor. That's TiE's objective.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I mean, we have, several different organizations online today, but, with the Startup Council, with TiE, with TCA, the syndication network, but let's give the audience a perspective on who else is in the ecosystem. For example, UCI Beal Applied Innovation, they host events. Pepperdine do most fundable companies. Who would you also suggest? Because I want the audience, especially the entrepreneurs, to understand where else they can go that become part of this ecosystem, both the relationship in the geography, outside the geography. So who else would you suggest are part of our ecosystem? Then I'll go to you, Scott. Shankar?
See, the one company you and I we see all the time is Export Dojo, right? Brian does a very good job. He's there, and there are small entities, a lot of small entities like that I see. But Export Dojo is one good place where they help them grow to a certain level. And I don't see that many organizations in Orange County, so we are going beyond the reach. We're going outside Orange County to see companies where we can help and bring those companies into Orange County. But the angel groups are looking only from a pitching from investment perspective, whereas I'm looking at the ecosystem of startups, entrepreneurs.
No, I'm not with I can honestly say that TCA is not only looking from an investment perspective. We believe, again, the three pillars that we have are the intake, the evaluation, and then the support after we invest. So we don't want to look at it as TCA as only an investment vehicle. That would be very myopic in my mind.
Yeah.
Scott, thoughts?
Sure. Well, I've spent a lot of time trying to find resources, and it's it's hard to build things, but if you can just refer people, that everybody wins. So the first thing I'd say is the OC Startup Council. That's what we do. We're essentially a directory. I created a phone book because nobody can find each other. So if anybody doesn't know about OCStartupCouncil.org, there's a big directory there, and we've tried to get everybody. Listings are free to come and list themselves. So if you go there, you'll find organizations that I would recommend, like the Small Business Development Corp is a tax fund. Your tax dollars are paying for consulting, as you well know, David, as a former SBD's consultant. The SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, does a lot of free mentoring. There's a new women's business center here specifically for women that's also government funded. 1 Million Cups is an early morning every Wednesday meetup where early stage entrepreneurs can practice their pitches for free. University Lab Partners is a fantastic thing if you're on the life sciences side, also based at UCI Beal Applied Innovation. RevHub OC is a impact-oriented new fund and service more in North Orange County. There's a whole thing called the North Star Collective up in Anaheim now. There's our friends at Octane and the Launchpad program. I mean, there's a lot of these pieces, and most people don't know about them. That's literally why I started.
I have an idea for you, and then I'm going to turn over to Costin. I think you just volunteered, or what we call in PCA voluntold, to put together this ecosystem list.
And you already did.
That's your name up there. I just want to point that out. I thought you raised your hand. I may be wrong. Yeah, it's him.
And it's that thing right there, startupcouncil.org. That's
exactly. Yeah, go on startupcouncil.org.
Make sure you list
his private telephone number.
Yeah.
What's that, Shankar?
Make sure you list the nonprofits and for-profit also.
Mm-hmm. Oh, come on, we're all for profit. I do want to. I do want to add, there's a couple more that I haven't heard about. TCVN, I think TCVN's been around for over 10 years, and they're doing phenomenal work. They got me going.
That's the Tech Coast Venture Network. Yeah,
that's right, Tech Coast Venture. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people confuse it with TCA. Different. And yeah, UCI is a big opportunity to make a big impact in Orange County. And I think for a while, Chapman was pretty active in the entrepreneurial scene.
Chapman Garage has been, and actually they've just reached out to us, and I'll be doing a talk at Chapman University in September to try to, in a sense, re-kickstart their garage program or their innovation program.
That's great to hear. They have a new executive director over there, Cynthia West, I think is her name. So
that's correct. Yeah.
And Cal State Fullerton started a program. Cal State Fullerton has got one. Yeah,
for sure.
So universities in general have been taking up the charge for entrepreneurism.
Yeah.
I mean, you have UCLA, you have USC, you have Pepperdine, you have Fullerton, you have Riverside.
Stanford.
Bring it all together.
I forgot about that little school, Stanford, up in the Valley area. We'll throw them a bone.
All right.
And first tips I have for entrepreneurs, and they ask me how to get help or how to get started, is where did you go to school? Because almost every university now, here or anywhere in the world, has an entrepreneurship program or wants to have an entrepreneurship program. There's a lot more. I started my first company in the dark, basically, and these days there's lots of stuff out there. But you got to go and research.
Yeah, but I think we should also look at, as leaders here, we should see how we bring them up together. There's so many fragmented pieces. Can we put them all together, help grow the ecosystem? It's stronger, so that people don't think OC is a stop between LA and San Diego. OC is the strong ecosystem. I think, Scott, we need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with that, gentlemen, I want to bring this wonderful conversation to an end and just recap a few things. We do have TiE as now a strong presence in the Orange County, Southern California ecosystem, hosting events about twice a year, as you mentioned. Shankar, thank you for that. And I'm sure entrepreneurs value the mentorship, the guidance, and the opportunities. Scott, wonderful work with the Startup Council, creating that phone book. If, for our millennial audience, it's a thing where you used to open it and there would be names and phone numbers.
Right.
Scott did a digital version of that.
Right.
It's a website. And then David and TCA, of course, TCA pushes a number of events. They're always fun. Usually there's a few drinks involved. And, it kind of builds that camaraderie. And we really want to see more of that in Orange County. For the viewers on the podcast here, if you have any ideas, put them in the comments, put them in the, give a like, share, but be vocal about getting together with people, bringing together like-minded people. I think that's what's required to continue to grow the Orange County ecosystem. So with that, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, and we will see you all next time. Oh, yeah, Scott, you got one more thing? Scott?
You guys.
Let me just do a quick plug because we're talking about events. TiE's doing a great job. Everybody's doing a great job. But the next TCA event is, I think we agreed on September 27th, right? There's going to be another face-to-face. And then correct. October, I think, Shankar, the October 11th, I think we were talking about the next Startup Game Changer one. So those are two big ones right there. And then the Startup Council, we run monthly masterminds as well. So this is happening. So if you're not on the, sorry to plug what I'm doing, but it's a volunteer thing. Go to ocstartupcouncil.org. We calendar everybody's events, all the community.
No, I want you to be that the phone directory. That's what we told you to become.
Okay.
You're the center hub of all this stuff.
Right.
You're the
Okay.
Hub of all knowledge.
Thank you. Tell my wife. But anyway, free newsletter. We'll get everybody dialed in. That's what we're doing. So
the plug from my side is, if you want to think of this ecosystem on outside, think of TiE, because we're all over the world. 57 chapters. So we're all over the world. So you can be involved in multiple ecosystems if you want. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. And with that, I would say mission accomplished to getting the message out. Great work, everybody. And we will see you all next time on TCA Crossroads. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Nice seeing you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.